can remember that far back. This was last September. Is it okay? You want to go through that? I think they're all fairly straightforward. Proposed. John second. All in favour? We accept them. Okay. Right.
Sorry, Chairman, but could you introduce the people around the table?
Yes, if you so wish, for the members of the public. Mrs. Caroline Acton is not actually on the committee at the moment, but she will be shortly. Chris Clark, Stan Stubbs, Alf Jewis, John Noel, myself, Derek Bilby, I think you know, don't you? Michael, and Michael Haley. I always call him Michael Comet, so I get the name right. Michael Haley and Penny Bright.
Penny, of course, Penny. Thanks.
Penny Bright, who's our minute secretary. Okay? Chairman's report. Just a very quick report upon what's happened last year. You'll probably have to take the glass off to read that whole thing, but never mind. The year started with Oliver Byrne as chairman, and really at that time, throughout not only Oakham Town Partnership but also the town and even on television and all the rest of it, was a discussion about a long-way street system in Oakham. Whilst agreeing in principle, Oakham Town Partnership, in the ideas of one-way street, Oakham Town Partnership had many reservations about the detail. And after much discussion that went on for quite some little time amongst our members, we agreed upon a letter which was published in the Rutland Times. And as everybody probably knows, things moved pretty fast after that, and RCC decided they weren't going to go ahead with it, and they set up a task and finish group, which we, Oakham Town Partnership, became a member of, and we've done quite a lot of work with the Oakham Town Partnership, with task and finish group over the last, since January time, and we continue to do that work. And we've met with a number of people, including all the other participants in the task and finish group. We initially started with Juliana White, but she unfortunately had to step back. So Alf has been Alf Jewis has been looking after that group, and we've done much work in that area. Oliver had to resign around about just after Christmas time, and it wasn't the intense cold Christmas affair, but because he had other health issues, so he resigned, and I took over as vice chairman, took over as chairman at the time. Fairly soon, it was fairly obvious that Oliver wasn't going to come back. He didn't wish to continue for a protracted time. So I took over as full chairman, but Alf and I agreed that we would actually run it as a joint chairmanship. So Alf and I took over as joint chairman, and it was all been at the committee meeting. And we said that we would think about how long we were going to last, how long we were going to be joint chairman. Our town centre manager, Karen, who's here tonight, arranged a number of events during the year. This included a late night shopping last year, last December, so about 10 months ago. It was very, very cold, if I remember correctly, but very successful, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. She also organised a food festival in spring. It wasn't brilliant weather, but it was clearly well attended. Indeed, I think we actually managed to clock about, or the castle managed to clock about 2,000 or 3,000 people through the castle that afternoon or that day. And we used that in discussions. It was a pretty good going for a wet Sunday in April. Managed to get 3,000 people through the castle. Another food festival was organised, and also the Thornton Towers events, very successful events that people enjoyed. Not a great deal of success in terms of money, but everybody enjoyed. And it raised the profile of the town, which is what a big exercise is. We had discussions during the course of the year with the organisers of the Wednesday and Saturday markets to see if we could invigorate them. So I think a number of people felt that we were actually, the markets were beginning to feel a bit stale. We haven't come to any conclusion of that, but hopefully next year we should be able to move forward on that. We also talked about an artisans fair, but some people who were primarily concerned about the artisans actually went back to Stamford. I think Stamford said they decided they were going to charge them too much. For a prime reason when come to Oakham. The Farmers Market, which is run by Oakham Town Partnership, and it's been run by the partnership for some considerable time, has gone from strength to strength, and it's now a well-established event for shoppers who want those sorts of products to come into Oakham on a 4-weekly cycle. There are other turnover events, turnover event of the partnership. Oliver Bird, as we said, designed through ill health and other matters, and Rob Guthrie also regarded the committee. I will be lucky in getting Chris Clark, who's here tonight, and Jonathan Spencer to join us. I think Jonathan can't make it tonight. And I mentioned in passing that I've heard neither of them are deadbeat members of other organisations. They're quite people who would object to such an expression. We're looking for new members, of course, especially from retailers and business people in the town. If anybody's interested in wanting to join us, then they get in touch. There's a procedure which we vet people, and the committee will then vote on whether they should join the partnership or not, and then they're invited to join if it's appropriate, if the whole committee agree. I think that's really all I have to say about that particular area. Alf and I, as sort of chairman of the present moment, would like to thank all members of the committee for their hard work over the year, and to make Oakham what we believe is our main area of interest, a more vibrant place in which to work and live and visit if you're an outside member. We'd like to mention particularly Penny Bryant, our minutes secretary, who does so much work for OTP, Mr. Barsham, behind the scenes, and without, frankly, we couldn't really function properly because she keeps us on straight and narrow and produces some fantastic minutes. Not only that, but does a lot of other work as well. Thanks also goes to Karen Atson for all the work and she put in organising the events of partnership. And after the meeting, we will try and establish some other procedures and hope that we will look forward to a new year, an expanding new year, and more members and more events and more involvement in the town. I think that's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Penny, you'll be glad to know that I've got an electronic copy of this, so you can inquire if that's okay. Thank you very much. We'll now go on to the next item, which is item 5, which is the presentation of the audit accounts for the year ending 30th of April 2018. I'll pass over to John, our treasurer. John.
Okay, we started the year and our total funds were £11,684.14, and at the end of the year we had £12,461.73, a very slight profit. But really the punchline is, for that very modest turnover of £11,000, we brought to Oakham many, many thousands of people, and that's all I have to say. The accounts have gone to HMRC and they're now on the Company House website. I've got the abbreviated accounts here and the full ones here, and I'll pass them around now so you can all have a look. But other than that, a modestly successful year.
Good. Thank you. Well, there you go. Do we have to sign anything or?
No.
All done. It's all been signed.
Send those that way.
Okay. By the appropriate directors of the company. That's the auditor council, so it's signed as appropriate. By
Yes.
the directors of the company. Okay, appointment of auditor. John, perhaps over to you.
I used to use Open School, but they can't accommodate it now. So we have to research and think about an auditor to send the account to,
Right.
or an independent comment.
Yeah.
And we will do that.
Okay, thank you. Re-election of the committee members. Committee members will probably be aware that our constitution states that any committee member who is appointed through the appropriate procedures to the committee stands for 3 years, 3 years from the date of their appointment. In fact, we have modified that slightly, so 3 years from the date of appointment, so the following AGM, so theoretically you could be appointed for 3.5 years. But as it happens this year, there's nobody that was due for re-election. There's quite a lot last year due for re-election because they then know for the following 3 years. And Penny's given us all the information that I've checked, and there are no members of the committee who stand for re-election this evening. So I'm sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, you're all on for next year. It's on a contact sheet. Exactly when you come up with re-election, but something like Christmas, come up with re-election with another 2.5 years yet, so I like that. Okay, election of officers. The first item is the election of chairman. Now, at the last committee meeting, Alf and I were quite clear in April that we weren't going to continue as chairman or chair people, especially like the youth work through to about July, August time, or obviously we decided that it would be more appropriate to review the situation at the AGM, which is tonight. And at the last full committee meeting, we both expressed the opinion that we weren't going to stand for re-election this year, this coming year. Also, John, as treasurer, expressed the view that he wasn't going to stand for treasurer this year, this coming year. From my point of view, I've been vice chairman on and off, more recently on, for the last few months. I've been on as vice chairman for about 15 years, I think it is, and I decided I'm quite happy to continue, but not as vice chairman. I think you've been on and then back off, and would you like to just talk about your personal circumstances?
Not really, not the personal circumstances.
No, that's not
but yes, I must admit we had a situation where Oliver resigned, and we had a situation then where the surface actually ran. It wasn't a simple run quite. But obviously it's not something I want to take on permanently, and therefore that's the reason I don't want to.
Okay, thank you. So we are looking for a new chairman, a new vice chairman, and a new treasurer. Now, chairman, I've had one nomination for chairman from Chris Clark here. Is there anybody else on the committee who wishes to stand as chairman? No? Okay. I would like to, there's a surprise. I'd like to propose that Chris takes over as chairman with immediate effect. Seconded. We have proposed a second. Everybody like, or the committee would like to vote for this? Thank you very much. Anybody will approach. Technically, if you're taking over as chairman, Chris, I can very happily hand over to you.
Do we have a nomination for vice chair? that to the first meeting of the partnership and discuss it. What about the nomination of the treasurer? I propose Michael. Sorry, I propose Michael Hay. Second. The proposal said with all those in favour. Okay, thank you. That actually concludes the formal business of the AGM. We have some members of the public here, and normally there's no item of any other business. But I'm happy to take some questions if you wish, although I may not be able to, you may not be able to answer them. But if there are any questions from the members of the public,